If I told you that some of the most brutal wars in human history weren't fought over money, religion, or love, but over an invisible line, a line you can't see, can't touch, but you will die for it. You ever notice how empires fall, rulers get overthrown, but somehow the border stays? Borders, my friend, are like ancient curses. Once drawn, especially by empires, they create a kind of zombie ownership. The empire collapses, but the dispute becomes part of the land's DNA. It's like the ground itself remembers, even if the people forget. But hold up, what if I told you that many of these borders were drawn by people who never even visited the places they divided? Yep, there are borders in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia that were literally sketched on a map by dudes in a European palace. You don't believe me? Think about why most African borders are straight lines. You think the terrain is neat and tidy? The fact that it is carved up like slices of pizza should tell you that some of these border lines were drawn by people who never touched their soils. Some of these freestyle sketch borders stay chill while others turn into bloodbaths. It's not just about lines, it's about what's underneath them, literally and figuratively. To a 5-year-old, a statement like, "Never trust the people across the line, that land was ours before they stole it," becomes the kind of story that grows teeth as the child grows older, turning fences into scars they carry forever. See, when you draw a line, you're saying, "This is mine," even if you've never set foot there, even if the locals don't agree, even if the line cuts through villages, lakes, or, no joke, people's living rooms. Once the line is on the map, it's really hard to erase it, because suddenly, textbooks print it, news anchors talk about it, kids grow up thinking, this is the truth. Surprisingly, while you're watching this YouTube video, there are some countries right now manipulating map data in online platforms to show their version of truth. Okay, imagine this. 2 old guys in big fancy coats, sipping wine while signing a treaty. They think they're solving world peace. Fast forward 300 years later, people are still dying over what they scribbled. And here's a curveball nobody tells you. Most of these treaties capturing something like "we own what is to the east of an imaginary line" were written in languages the local populations didn't even understand. Latin, French, colonial tongues. So guess what? Entire borders were legally decided, without the people living there even knowing what the heck was going on. Wherever you're today, if you move a couple of miles downtown, you will find border patrol troops and border structures. But guess what? Chances are high even your greatest grandparents had no clue who put them there. And what's been happening in the last decade? Bleeding headlines more or less like these.
Anti-Indian troops dead after clashes with Chinese soldier near the border.
Kyrgyzstan-Tajikistan border conflict death toll reaches nearly 100. Russian border oblast governor reports 120 civilian deaths since start of Ukraine conflict. Deadly border policies killed 3 more people this week in the USA-Mexico border. More than 50 people, including UN peacekeepers, were killed in attacks in the oil-rich Abyei in the Sudan-South Sudan border. Over 62,000 Palestinians killed since October 2023 alone, as the world watches in silence. And those are headlines they reported. Imagine the ones that never made it to your screen. All these over-imaginary scratches or doodles on a planet that doesn't even notice them. Or to sound a bit more diplomatic, over 17,000 children pronounced dead over border lines in Western Asia. Let's be real for a second. If border disputes were just about land, they'd be a lot easier to fix, right? Draw a line, shake hands, move on. But nope, the land itself is barely usable. Like, who's fighting over a glacier in the middle of nowhere? Oh, turns out a lot of people. Because it's not the ice, it's the flag planted on the ice. It's the symbol. If you look back, many countries only got their current borders in the last 100 years. Yet people are willing to die for them like they've existed since the dinosaurs. This is one valid reason why border disputes last for centuries. It is crazy to think about how "this side is mine, that side is yours" has led to many great men and women being beheaded, hanged, electrocuted, assassinated, all in the name of "we're fighting for our people, for our land." For those living the struggle, the freedom fighters, these borders were more about dignity, belonging, survival, and a badge of pride. I mean, it's wild how something drawn by pens can write entire histories in blood. Okay, gloves off now. Let's expose some dirty tricks. You'd think countries want border disputes to end, right? Wrong again. Some leaders need them alive. It keeps the population distracted. It keeps the media busy. It keeps people from asking awkward questions, like, "Hey, why is the economy in the toilet?" So how do they do it? Here's the playbook. Trick 1. Endless negotiations that go nowhere. Leaders will hold talks, then sabotage them quietly, smile for the cameras, then leak some inflammatory statement to the press the next day. Loop. Repeat. Forever. Trick number 2. Self-manufactured outrages. You see it all the time. A minor border incident gets blown up into a national crisis, potentially a nationwide protest. Like we see in the 2010 incident in India. Something like, they crossed our side by 5 feet, and suddenly, without warning, there's all kinds of parades, protests, emergency speeches, all for 5 feet. But guess what? It keeps the fire burning. I won't share tricks 3 and 4 here, since they're a bit too politically charged. Besides, this is just a YouTube channel creating daily why this is so-and-so videos. But rationally speaking, these tricks are so sneaky. Borders stay burning because some folks make a living off the smoke. And while I might sneak in such kind of punchlines, please be reminded that all my videos are for educational and commentary purposes only. All views are reflections on global patterns, and not direct accusations. As for the endless negotiations that go nowhere, it could all be clenching roots from what is known as the border distraction play. Economy tanking, corruption scandals, healthcare in shambles, no problem. Just crank up a border crisis. Boom. Instant media circus. Instant patriotism. Instant look over there, while the real issues stay hidden. This isn't new. It's literally a page from the oldest playbook in politics. Take an example from this. During Argentina's economic collapse in the 80s, what did the government do? Invade the Falklands. While back home, inflation was vaporizing people's savings. But it worked. For a while, people forgot their pain because they had an enemy. And for the brutal part, leaders don't even have to win the dispute. They just need to keep it noisy. The longer the fight drags on, the better, well, in a sense. You might notice this even today too. Whenever things get tense at a home country, suddenly there's a border flare-up. Something like, this and this government official has sold our national territory of the ocean to this and this country. Coincidence? I'll let you decide. I have a thoughtful question to feed your brain with. Here it is. Some border disputes just fade quietly. No fireworks, no social media rage. Others? They rage on, generation after generation. Why? First of all, what makes a dispute die? Sometimes it's pure exhaustion. Both sides bleed so much that they just stop caring. The fight stops feeling worth it. Other times, economic pragmatism wins. Both countries realize, hey, maybe we can make more money trading than fighting. So they shake hands and call it a day. But what makes a dispute turn into a never-ending zombie war? 2 words to capture it all. Identity anchors. When a border becomes tied to national pride, culture, religion, it's no longer about land. It's about who we are. And you can't compromise on who you are. Right? So the fight drags on. Even when nobody remembers what started it. Because honestly, if one side said, this is the only Jewish homeland we have after thousands of years of persecution, this land was fought for and promised, also built from scratch. And the other side said, this is our ancestral land taken from us by force and foreign powers. We won't stand being caged in our own homes. Then honestly, unless there's a massive shift in human psychology or an external forcing event, this conflict is likely to continue indefinitely, because both sides' narratives are rooted in existential identity, for the most part, not just land. And in retrospect, when conflicts are framed as, I exist only if you don't, the historical pattern was always a stalemate by bloodshed, not resolution. And statistics on this end show 64% of y'all watching are not subscribed. Like, what are you waiting for? A UFO to land on your lawn? Bruh, just give your thumb a little workout, go on, hit subscribe. All my 10,000 hour edits are broadcasted to you free of charge. Please show your support by subscribing. Thanks a million. And by the way, speaking of UFOs, I have a video coming up on UFOs. You'll be able to watch it once it is out. The video title, Why Are There Ancient Paintings of UFOs? Stay tuned. So I was saying, if the land dispute is clenching roots from identity anchors, neither side will ever fully win. However, there's also a dirty ingredient to this. Sometimes bigger powers keep old disputes alive, because chaos in certain regions benefits them. Divide and rule, baby. Alright, we've talked identity. We've talked pride. We've talked old wounds. But now, let's talk money. Because behind many of these endless border disputes, there's a hidden cash register. How? Borders mean control of resources, oil, gas, minerals. But it's not just natural stuff. It's taxes, trade, tariffs. Control a disputed zone. You control the flow of goods. You control who pays what to whom. Border tensions justify big defense budgets. They'd be like, we need to protect the homeland. Cue billions in military spending. Guess who profits? Arms dealers, contractors, certain politicians with suspicious stock portfolios. And sometimes they don't want the fight to end because the chaos itself is the profit center. So yeah, in some cases, border disputes are less about patriotism and more about profit margins. And as civilians, what do we profit? Not being able to visit friends without visas. Your neighbor of 20 years is a foreigner. Houses where your front door is in Belgium, but your living room is in the Netherlands. 2 sets of laws, 2 currencies, 2 police forces. The list goes on. And during conflicts, yeah, there's creation of refugees nobody wants. And your street basically becomes a war zone. That's what's in it for us. I mean, it is that easy to turn your homeland into a pawn on a chessboard. So you might be asking, how does the world legally settle borders? In theory, there are systems. You got the International Court of Justice. You got UN panels. You got arbitration bodies. But here's the dirty little secret. Most countries only play along when they think they'll win. If the ruling favors them, only then do they respect international law. If it doesn't, these courts are biased. They have no jurisdiction. They will argue. And it gets worse. Even when a court rules on a border, there's no global sheriff to enforce it. No border police. It's up to the countries to accept the decision. And let's just say that doesn't always happen. Let's pull the curtain back on the global referees. The UN, the World Court, all those international bodies that claim they can fix border disputes. On paper, they look powerful. Flags, declarations, speeches that go viral. But in reality, it's chaos with a Wi-Fi connection. First off, who runs these courts? Mostly representatives from countries that also have border disputes. Yeah, it's like asking people stuck in traffic to decide who gets to drive first. Alright, let's talk about the punchline that is international law. Now, don't get me wrong. On paper, it sounds awesome. Rules, justice, accountability. But when it comes to borders, it often feels like theater. Expensive theater with bad acting. Here's why. First flaw, there's no global cop. No world army ready to swoop in if a country says, nah, we're ignoring that ruling. It's like your teacher says, don't cross the line, but also says, I'm not gonna stop you if you do. Second flaw, the most powerful countries can veto stuff. Yep, the same countries with the most border disputes often have the biggest legal shields. They can just say no thanks to any ruling that doesn't suit them. Third flaw, even when borders are ruled on, there are a million ways to drag, delay, and dodge. Oh, we respect the decision, but the implementation might take, let's say, 30 years. And finally, sometimes the legal language itself is so vague, countries interpret it however they want. Demilitarized zone in one language becomes build secret tunnels and stash weapons in another. So yeah, international law on borders feels less like a rule book and more like a suggestion box. I'm so sorry for making this video this long, but kindly allow me to pass over this question. Could AI help solve border disputes that humans can't? Well, maybe. Because AI doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't care about your grandfather's trauma. It looks at data, resources, logistics, and says, yo, this makes more sense. Sounds utopian? Yeah, but it's not impossible. AI could propose shared governance models. AI could warn us when the next border meme is about to spark a war. But let's be real. AI is still made by humans, and humans have biases. So unless we teach these systems empathy, fairness, and historical awareness, they'll just replicate the same old problems with prettier graphs. So, could AI help? Yes. Could it mess up worse than humans? Also, yes. But here's the twist. Maybe the real value of AI isn't that it solves disputes for us, but that it forces us to see how absurd some of these fights are in the first place. And lastly, after binge watching this video, I'll leave you, not with a map, not with a treaty, but with a question I want you to wrestle with. In your country, in your neighborhood, In your own mind, are the borders you defend protecting you or limiting you? Drop your rawest thoughts in the comments. No filters, no diplomacy. Let's get human. And be sure to check out our next episode, Why Birds Fly in V Formations.